Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Kona says hi, too.
Yeah. Welcome to RV to Freedom Live. I'm Carenza. This is Brandon. We're hosts in the RV to Freedom group. We have the RV to Freedom website to help you learn how to live in an RV.
And we're here today to talk about factory tours. We are just 100 miles or so outside of Elkhart, Indiana, where we were up there last week touring factories, and we thought we'd come and share with you some of the things we saw inside the factories and even show you some photos from some of the various factories that we visited.
Yeah. We feel like, if you own a motorhome, that's a big investment. And if you're going to make that kind of investment, why not tour the factory and see how it's made? Especially if you're buying new, you can get a better sense of how they build things, what's going on, and what to expect.
Yeah, definitely. It helps you really know what's going on behind those walls, especially later in life when you need to go chase down issues. You can kind of have a visual reminder of, how things look inside an RV wall. Or even if you want to just hang up a picture, you know what you're hanging it into.
Right. I'm going to share it into the group.
Okay, so Prince is going to share this into the group to make sure everybody sees it. It is really nice to be able to tour the factories. Almost all the factories up in Indiana, where almost all the RVs are built, allow tours. And the Winnebago factory in Iowa has tours as well. And I'm sure the Tiffin factory down in Alabama also has tours. But if you are buying an RV or looking for an RV, or even if you're just an owner of an RV, it's really great to go and tour the factories and see what they look like, see how they're built, get a feel for what's going on inside them, and what you're living in, or what you're traveling in, or just taking vacations in.
Right.
One of the things that we kind of knew going in, but it was interesting to see in person, is there is really no automation in an RV factory. RV factories are not like car factories. You're not going to see robots putting things together. You're going to see a lot of people doing a lot of manual labor. And, it has its pluses and minuses. The good thing is it's a lot of lines. It's real easy to customize an RV if you order one new. The downside is the more people that are involved, the more room for mistakes there is. The more human error can pop up. And I think we all see this and we all know this when we talk about RVs coming off the line and how they have to go through their warranty shakedown period. And that's just because you're basically buying a manufactured house that's stuck on top of a truck. And the truck part comes off an assembly line with robots and all that. So those are usually pretty solid. But the house part is just built one at a time, just like any house, really. Except for this house has to stand up to an earthquake while it's driving down the road and hurricane force winds.
Yeah. It's a little different than buying a car. One thing just too about the factories that we wanted to say was, did you talk about how you can stay there?
No, I didn't. I missed it.
That you can actually stay at a lot of the factories. So some factories will let you pick up your RV once it's made, especially if you're doing direct to consumer. But even like a Newmar, you can actually pick up your coach at the factory.
And they actually encourage that. They want you to sleep in it overnight at the factory and figure out how it works and ask questions. If anything shows up that needs to be fixed, they want to be able to take care of it there. And it's just a lot easier than trying to go through dealer networks later.
Right. And you can sometimes see your coach being made. There they know when it is. Other factories say it's a little too hard to figure out.
Yeah, to find your specific one on the line.
But it's something to ask. And that's kind of interesting too, because you could actually watch your coach being made or your RV and then pick it up right there, spend the night on the lot. Sometimes they have full hookups. Some of them at least have electric and water. And then
we know Newmar in particular told us that you can stay there with any RV. So if you're up in Elkhart and you want to tour a factory, you can stay at their factory with your RV. It doesn't matter if it's a Newmar. They just want you to come and see what they're doing. So they're pretty happy with that.
Yeah. So as he was saying, there's a lot of handwork.
Yes, there's a ton of handwork. And as you know, there's a lot of Amish doing it. There's a lot of non-Amish, or English as they would call us, doing it as well. And we didn't really see the frantic pace that you see reported a lot. Some of the factories do schedule their tours towards the end of the day when the shifts are kind of ending. But we were there also right when people were working, and they seemed to have just a regular, steady pace that you would expect in a factory. You know, it wasn't people tripping all over each other trying to, you know, gung-ho these things together as fast as they could.
Which was good, because watching a video from past times is a little frantic and a little disturbing how quickly they're going to throw your slapdash, it feels like, put it together. But this at least felt a little more controlled.
Yes. But that being said, we did notice mistakes on the line. On RVs that were currently being built, we saw mistakes on them right there. And I pointed them out, and they knew about them. And they said they would fix them. So we took some pictures, because some of the factories allow you to take pictures. A lot of the factories don't allow you to take pictures, especially in certain areas. If it's a stronger Amish population, that's what they say. That's why they say that you can't take pictures. I'm not sure if that's the truth or not.
And some of it, we were in the factories that were in the Amish areas. Those tended to be the ones that didn't do it. Yeah.
So we do have some pictures to show you guys. And Carol was asking if we went to the Antique Museum. We did that last year. So we spent our time this time focusing on the factories. Yeah.
But the Motorhome Hall of Fame up there, the RV Motorhome, I think it's called, RV Motorhome Hall of Fame. It's actually pretty interesting. It's really cool to kind of see the RVs through the years. So if you're touring factories, it's worth a stop if you're going to be up in northern Indiana and Elkhart anyway.
Right. Yeah. And it's sponsored by a lot of the manufacturers. So Airstream has a big exhibit. Winnebago has a big thing, because, you know, they know why you're there. So let's show you guys some pictures of what we saw, and let you get an idea for what the insides of these RVs look like. So bear with me a little second here so I can flip things around. We're doing this old school. I'm going to point my camera at my screen, and you'll be able to see what we see. So this is an RV that's being prepared for paint. So you can see there what we once had a dealer refer to this as Elkhart graffiti. And it's all the swoops and swirls that they love to put on these RVs. What was interesting about this is that all of these RVs are laid up by hand, one at a time. So if you did order an RV, you can tell them, just paint it one color. Like, I don't want swoops. Just give me one solid color. And it actually looks really striking to get some of these really nice RVs in just one color and get rid of all the swoops and swirls. But the customers like them, so they keep doing them. This is an RV off that same line that's going through its final clear coat, where they're doing multiple layers of clear coat in a paint booth, and they bake it on. So this factory had a huge paint booths and huge, they're basically ovens, so they can bake the paint onto the RV, which we thought was pretty slick.
And afterwards, kind of depending on how high in the line or the brand it was, they will go back and sand.
Yeah, they'll wet sand
between the layers of paint, so there's a smooth feeling across all the layers, so you don't feel the bump between like that red and the taupe color. Yeah, they
were very obsessed with their cut and buff finish.
Yes.
Which I thought, that's nice. I'd rather them spend more time, screwing things together without sheet metal screws. But, it looks good going down the road. So that's nice. This RV is actually inside a rain bay. So this is a bay where they close the doors on both ends and they make it rain on the RV. Then they do it with the slides in and the slides out so they can check for water leaks. They're not blowing the rain in like you would get when you're driving, but it's better than nothing. And those pads on the floor behind the bay, those are actually, these pads here are actually the scale. So that's after they do the rain test, they roll it back out and then they weigh it, because every RV has to be weighed now. So it gets its cargo carrying capacity sticker accurately. And here you can see this is really typical for how an RV is put together. So they're typically built from the inside out with no walls on it. So you can see why it's a lot easier for them to build it than it is for you to remodel it. Or if you were to have an issue in the wall where a wall needed to be worked on, especially an exterior wall, it'd be very difficult to work on because The cabinetry was put in first, and then the walls are put on. And this is showing, this is actually at the Dynamax factory. They have a newer Dodge Ram diesel Class C that they're building. So it's pretty slick. They actually build all the bays onto it, and then they do the entire floor. So edge to edge, front to back is all vinyl in this RV. And again, if when it comes time to replacing the floor, your floor is going under all the furniture. So you're going to have to, cut around the cabinets to get the floor out. And it'll be, again, it's a lot harder for you to put the floor in than it was for them to put it in the first place.
It's interesting to see the one-piece cabs on top there so that you don't have the seam on the sides.
Yeah, those seams on the sides of the Class C cap, like right up in here. If this isn't one piece, those are a real good spot to leak. And it was kind of nice. This is on their higher end lines. They do the molded cap. So there's no seams there. So it makes it a little easier to keep it watertight. And here's just some more interior shots. The blue and red plumbing down there, that's the PEX plumbing. That's the hot and cold water lines. This factory uses a wiring harness. Some factories use a wiring harness. Some run wires individually, and they both tell you that that's the best way to do it. I can't really say which is better than one or the other. But it's interesting that everyone tells you the best way they do it. They also tell you all their adhesives and all their materials were invented by NASA. Every single factory tells you that they're using space-age polymers and all that stuff.
So you can see the shower pan. And that's where, right in the back of the coach. But just more interior shots of how they build it. And this is the floor, so you can see the floor construction. And that is how they are insulating the floor. Right.
And this is a upper mid-range lightweight coach. This is a gas coach, but it's in the upper mid-range. It's a fairly thick floor, but it's maybe not as thick as they would do on a diesel because they don't have as much weight capacity. But they're, the foam in there gives a pretty good insulation. And you can see the layers of plywood building up on both sides. It's actually where the toilet's going to sit eventually.
So you can see that this is the sidewall. It's pretty easy to recognize.
And these sidewalls at this factory, they are vacuum bonded and laminated. So they're a laminated sidewall, but they do it under vacuum pressure, which helps the resins get into all the materials better. They can still delaminate, but they're not going to delaminate as easily as like a pinch and roll lamination, which is what I believe Thor was using that. But they what they'll do in a pinch and roll, they'll lay up all the parts. They'll put the resins on it, and then they'll roll it under some heavy rollers that kind of squeeze everything together. This kind of wall, they're vacuum sucking everything together. So it's just another type of laminate wall. There is actually a third kind of wall that we saw, which was pretty interesting. We'll show it in a minute. And this is a section of the wall. And again, this is a gas coach. So this wall is not as thick as you may get on a diesel. It's maybe 1.5 inches or so, 1.75 inches.
Yeah.
And I think on a diesel, it's about...
They said it was 3 inches, I think. Or was that the other?
I think it's like 2.5.
2.5. Yeah. And this one was,
So, but still, it's, it's somewhat insulated. It's better than nothing. The wood that's used on in this particular line, I believe this is Dynamax, is a stabilized wood. So it's not as susceptible to water damage. And here's how they do the wall. They basically lay the wall up all as one piece, and then they cut out the slide from that wall. And then that wall cutout, they take it over and they build the slide box with that wall cutout, and then they put it right back in the same hole.
That way it actually matches and they don't have to try to line anything up.
Right.
So it should be the same cut.
Yeah. And Jonathan said, thin walls. Yeah, on a gas coach, they have to save weight. This is actually a Mercedes diesel, but it's a lightweight diesel, so they have to save weight. So they, the walls can be kind of thin sometimes.
Yeah, that one did look thin.
And that's when, they'll give you 2 furnaces to make up for it. But they're not the best insulated. These aren't insulated like houses, but there are some options that are insulated more like houses. This is the inside of that same wall. So you can see where they've made all the cutouts for the slide. Right through here, they've cut out the slide. And they're going to take that wall section out and then build the slide box and then bring it back. It's interesting, too, for the big guys like us. This is very common. This is the shower pan. It's plastic. And it's sitting on a piece of 3/4 inch plywood. And then it's just supported with some vertical 2x2s. And that's why the shower pans feel squishy and like they're going to collapse under you all the time, because they're close to it. Sometimes you might want to get under there and actually reinforce that a little bit better. And here he's just showing us the slide wall that's kind of all cleaned up after it's been cut out. And that's showing the thickness of the wall again after they cut out that slide wall. And that's the aluminum frame sandwiched and vacuum sealed between the walls. And there's the slide wall ready to go back in.
So have you ever wondered what the back of your fridge looked like? And not your residential fridge, but a typical RV? This is it.
Yeah, this is the back of a gas fridge. So it shows you kind of why they're so much smaller. There's a lot of stuff behind them, the boiler and everything to make it work. It was interesting on the new ones. They're actually putting in a circulation fan on top of the coils to help move air around. So it was kind of nice that it already had that in there. And this is showing the roof structure, kind of giving you an idea of the thickness. Again, this is a lighter weight coach, so it's not a super thick roof, but it's really common to what we saw. And this factory uses a welded aluminum frame. A lot of factories do, but some factories still kind of screw them together, and they say this is better. And this one's Dynamax again, and we just really like this. What they did here that was really cool is these panels are actually Velcro.
So it makes them easier to change out, or if you just want to take them off. They said that sometimes they're on so strongly that you could rip kind of the Velcro off, but you could easily change out the fabric, which is a lot easier than most of them. And we've done that before with friends. Yeah. We've changed out their balances, so it's a much easier fix.
Yeah, it seems like they're starting to recognize that people want to make these their own and not just live with the horrible beige fabrics. I shot this picture real quick too, because this RV, they're starting to add solar panels. So this one actually comes with 200 watts of solar on the roof. What is interesting to see though, is you can see the start of what we call lot rot right here. This battery is sitting in the factory. I mean, this RV is going through the factory, and you can see the batteries are already getting drained down. And, it's going to be a while before this RV is actually out in the sun and gets some solar back. I wouldn't be surprised if they over discharge these batteries. So even on a brand new coach that's even sitting in the factory, they can already be doing damage to the batteries by not properly maintaining them. So don't be surprised if you get a new coach and you need new batteries in a year or so. And then they're starting to do these crazy cool touch screens.
That control everything in your coach.
Yeah.
You can see there's a slide out on it and the awning. There's some that will even do the jacks.
Yeah, jacks, generator, all your lights, your electricity, your fans. So it's kind of neat. What was interesting to this is it was right at the level that kids' hands would be at, and it had no lockout. So there was no way to keep a kid from just going and pushing every button, which I thought was kind of a dumb idea. Seems like there should be like a PIN code or something you need to put in to unlock it, or like some sort of child-safe mode. And that's just a big old water tank and a water filter.
Nice to have the water filter built in. So this is already on the coach where you can see that the wallpaper looks like it's sagging. That's exactly what it is. It's not water damage or anything like that, but it is where the wallpaper's put on and then they put the cabinets on, or these braces that they have there, and it kind of just
deforms
the wallpaper, and you get these something that already doesn't look good, you know,
Yeah.
something that.
What was kind of disconcerting is they had 3 show RVs in their factory, and this is one of their show RVs. I'm like, is that really your best foot forward that you're showing? Seems like they would go through and make sure their show RVs were the top. There's Krenta looking at an RV. This one was kind of funny because they did a gas electric fridge, which is great for boondocking because it saves you a lot of power. But then they did an induction cooktop, which uses a lot of power. So I'm not exactly sure the target customer on this one. And fireplaces and crazy mirrors.
Some lighter cabinets. And look at that oven and stove. I mean, it's a whole range. That is not typical for most RVs. Usually have them separated. I thought this was really interesting.
Yeah, this factory here is one of the direct-to-consumer factories. And what's really cool about them is because it is direct-to-consumer, every RV is built to order. You can really specify anything you want. So this is like a small range, like an efficiency size, but they can do a normal 30-inch range, like a normal household. The white cabinets and the backsplash were all specified by the owner, the person who purchased this one. So it was kind of neat. You could really, really get into it and kind of make it your own from the beginning because they are hand-built one at a time. And this is that same factory. These are fifth wheels. And so it's kind of one of the messier factories we saw. There's literally no automation. There's no like mechanized assembly line. They just drag these fifth wheels from station to station as they need to move down the line. Yeah.
Other factories we visited would put their RVs up on different kind of systems. One, like Thor, I know they had like rollers in the floor, a track system that would pull it along, and Newmar had hover pads, which was like kind of
they were air inflated pads that went under the tires and made them slide around on the floor. But because they had the hover pads, their factory was really clean because they had to keep the floor clean for the hover pads to work properly.
Right. Inside looked a little cleaner. Some of these, it's amazing how dirty they get before.
Yeah, the RV
they leave. The interior of the RV.
So this is showing you a fifth wheel. This is a higher end fifth wheel, kind of one of the luxury lines. And what they do is they use a residential grade insulation all in the belly of the fifth wheel. So all the plumbing and everything is insulated, and the ductwork from the furnace runs through the belly, so it helps keep the belly warm and keep your tanks warm and your water tank warm too. And that's your black tank. The metal box up front is a generator prep. So this is one of the factories that doesn't use a wiring harness. So it looks a bit insane seeing all the wires and tubes going everywhere, but I guess they know where it all goes when they get done. And here's a wall going in place. Again, this is a laminated wall, just like a lot of the other factories we saw. But what's interesting is you can see right at the bottom of the wall, there's some damage from when they lifted it into place. And they've also kind of hooked it with these big chains. So I'm wondering what kind of damage that's going to cause later. They assured me they're going to go through and touch all that up. But to me, that means Bondo and, fiberglass patches, which is not really, I'd rather it be built right in the first place. And this, exactly the same. They built them from the inside out. The floor went down first, and they covered it with cardboard to protect it, and then they kind of lay it up from the inside out. And again, this particular factory seemed a little bit more disorganized when it came to building than the other factory, so it's kind of like bits and pieces laying all over the place. And this is the roof that will go on one of these fifth wheels. It's an arched roof. This shows you the wood decking. This is exactly what would be under a TPO or a rubber roof. This, again, is all laminated together. And then once it's installed, the roof material is laid on top of it and glued to it.
You can see the foam and the... Oh, okay, there's a closer.
Yep.
You can see the foam insulation inside the roof there. Okay, so this... Well, Right. This is a hung wall, so it's different than the laminated walls, and it's more like how you build a house. So they put up the structure there, and then they put this, what do they call that?
Astrofoil developed by NASA.
Yes.
It's basically Reflectix. It's,
right, that's what I was thinking.
Silver bubble wrap is what they put in the walls.
Right. And then they hang insulation, which is your typical house insulation inside it.
Yeah. And you're getting about maybe 2.5 or 3 inches of insulation in the wall. This is only done on their very high-end luxury line, so it's going to give you a more insulated wall. And we couldn't take pictures at Newmar, but Newmar builds every RV like this. So every RV from their low-end Baystar Sport all the way up to the King Airs and London Airs are done with hung walls. And they use a little bit different fiberglass insulation that looks like it sits in there better, but basically the same construction.
Yeah, it wasn't pink insulation.
Yeah. It was still fiberglass. What they did do is they would run all these wires would actually be run through the studs. They have perforated studs instead of sitting them on top. But because it's going to have a fiberglass cap, it's fine. It's a little bit of a rat's nest of wires, so you hope you never have a wiring problem in your RV. So this is showing with a hung wall, they have these aluminum studs, and then they have a fiberglass skin. So this is fiberglass bonded to wood, but then it's glued to the wall. So this is the white you see here is the actual glue. And again, that's a space age glue from NASA that holds ceramic tiles on space shuttles. That's what they told us anyway.
You can see the hole too in the aluminum. They do put the plastic in there.
Yeah, they put a little grommet in it.
A little grommet so that the wires won't rub on the aluminum and get cut.
Yeah. Just to go back, we were looking at Newmar in particular. Newmar does this similar wall where it's fiberglass and wood on their low end or their lightweight, the gas coaches, because they can't have the full weight. On their higher end diesel motorhomes, they do a solid fiberglass wall. So there's no delamination in the wall because nothing's laminated ever. So it's kind of a nice thing to see. Yeah.
And we were, of course, interested in Newmar's because that is what we have.
Yeah, so we wanted to see how our RV was built. Yeah. And in that particular factory, as most factories, all ranges were built on the same line.
Right.
So in Newmar, you'll have a King Air being built right next to a Baystar. And the King Air is the big, expensive diesel, and the Baystar is the inexpensive gas. And they're all built basically the same way.
Yeah, most of the factories are like that. They will divide. They'll have different factories for motor coach and towable, right. But the lines, everything's kind of built, and it's usually built as they're ordered. So it's not. It's again, it's kind of not that automated process where you're doing a Baystar again and again and again.
Yeah.
It just kind of one off.
And they're even the ones that go to the dealer's lot are ordered for the most part. The dealer calls up and says what they want in their RVs that are delivered to their lot, and then they're built to order to the dealer. So everything, for the most part, is built to order. Every RV you see has already been paid for by somebody, and they build them once they're paid. So it's kind of an interesting way. It's not like a car manufacturer where they're going to ramp up production and build, 10,000 of a certain model and then deliver them to dealers all over the country. And all the models are basically the same. They're very kind of individual by what the dealer wants. So certain areas of the country may order certain things where, up north, they may order more, more air conditioners with heat pumps or more bigger furnaces. Down south, it may not be as big a deal when they order them. So this was an example of one of the mistakes we saw in the factory, which was kind of surprising to me. They lay up this rear cap, and then they router out this hole for the window all at once. And you can see the person routed the hole and then accidentally went a little too far down here and then had to come back up and catch the hole. So this whole knockout here is not supposed to be there. So that's something that would have to be patched after the fact. And
that's a big patch.
That's a big patch, yeah. And that's kind of the thing where,
especially around a seal.
Yeah, there'll be a sealed window there, and that's the bottom of the seal too. It was, this is the kind of thing where handwork isn't always best, or at least, maybe they shouldn't have given the new guy the router that day. So this is a fifth wheel.
I like Sarah's wow face on that one. Yeah, it was a little like, oh my goodness, what in the world? I don't want that one.
Right, exactly. This is, again, same factory. It happened again right here. You can see they marked it where they need to fix it. This is the undercut curve of a fifth wheel. So the hitch would be right over here. And it looks like the guy, he was probably routering up this direction. And then, oops, I need to go this way, and kind of made a little jog. That's the insulation you can see inside.
Yeah, and they specifically mentioned Bondo, but of course that wasn't somebody on the floor, so I don't know if that's correct. But
they probably would use Bondo. On the bigger hole, you'd hope they'd use a fiberglass patch.
I hope
but,
so.
Who knows? It'll look good when it hits the delivery line. And that particular factory, we saw a third one too by a door, but I didn't get a picture of it. So out of the 10 RVs we saw in there, 3 of them had little goofs in the router work. So little worrying. This is just showing you some of the interiors where you can custom order whatever you want. So it has the lighter cabinets and the lighter countertops and whatnot.
Yeah, they said they usually do darker countertops with that lighter cabinetry, but this person in particular wanted the light wood and the light countertops, which made the RV, I'm calling everything a coach, just ignore me, made the RV very light.
Yeah.
It was airy, which was nice.
And all these lights that look blue, they're not really blue. The camera just picks them up funny. They were pretty white. It had a pretty cool sink in it.
Just a one-piece Corian countertop.
Yep.
Dip into there.
And then the master bath had the 2 sinks and washer and dryer in the closet.
Yeah. Separate. You don't usually see that.
That was pretty awesome. And here's the rest of the RV looking the other way.
No, this is a different one to the darker.
Oh, yeah, that's right. It has a darker countertop. And I think that's it. That's we have a bunch of photos. Those are just the ones we wanted to show you from some of the different factories, just to kind of give you an idea of what it looks like when an RV is going together. And I'll just show you one more time if I can remember how to work everything on my computer. Getting there.
What are you trying to do?
Trying to get that. And come back here. And just show you, that's pretty much how an RV is built. One at a time with a bunch of guys from the inside out. And it's pretty weird to watch them do it. So if you guys have any questions about anything we saw, feel free to ask in the groups.
Yeah, and does anyone have any plans to visit a factory in the future? Is that something you're interested in? You'd be curious to find out, or if this has made you more curious or a little frightened. You never know.
Yeah, we don't mean to scare you. We just want to make sure that everybody kind of knows what they're getting into, because, like we said, there we are. These are manufactured homes on top of a truck. They're not what you're used to as a house.
Of the light.
Oh, sorry.
They're not. They are not house quality. They are good quality, but they are not built like a house.
Right.
And they're not built like a car.
Right.
They're their own thing.
Yes. I mean, they're really built more like a mobile home. Some of them have nicer appliances, but that's kind of how they're built, or like a manufactured home. Jonathan asked, is Fleetwood up in Elkhart? They're not in Elkhart. They're in
Decatur, which is east of Elkhart. It's actually southeast of Elkhart.
Right.
They're kind of alone in the area, but I think they have a few different factories because they have a few different brands.
Right.
So,
but Decatur is not terribly far from Elkhart. Was it an hour?
Hour and a half.
Yeah. So an hour and a half. So if you flew into the area and you wanted to tour,
you could also fly right into Fort Wayne.
Yeah.
If you specifically want to go to Decatur, well,
yeah,
you can fly right into Fort Wayne. It's actually a nice airport.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
go right to Decatur.
They
It's
have
half an hour.
Nice USB chargers right in their chairs because I've used them many times.
Yes. Susan would love to go visit there. Yeah, on your bucket list. It is really interesting to see, you know, and I know you're looking, you have a RV right now, and in a couple of years you're thinking about getting a different one. So it'd be kind of a fun trip. Maybe you could go up there and visit some of the factories and see what you think about them before you choose your new one. You could go to the RV Hall of Fame and pick out an old one.
Right, exactly. No, we didn't get to Grand Design. Is Grand Design even up there?
Yeah, it's right on the Michigan border.
Oh, okay. So yeah, it's a little bit further.
I've been there before, but I didn't get to tour them.
Yeah, it's a little bit further up from where we were. The factory that we were showing the picture of them building from the inside out, that was Dynamax, which we went to Dynamax specifically because somebody was looking at a Dynamax and wanted to show
right them. There, Lisa.
Yeah, Lisa Miller Petrie. She was looking at the Dynamax. The factory that we saw the 3 router mistakes in was the RV factory. That's one of the direct-to-consumer ones. So they do, what's their lines called?
It's the Augusta is one of their other brands, and then it's the Lux and the Ambition, and RV Factory makes the Weekend Warrior toy haulers.
Yeah.
And, you know, we don't like seeing that, but I know that those mistakes happen on all of them. So,
well,
I mean,
hopefully,
I
think they happen on a lot of them. I'm not sure they happen on
all of them.
Yeah. Because that seemed a little excessive.
It did.
Yeah.
It did. Can't say that one was so much worse or so much, you know, other things are so much better because you're going to have issues.
Yeah, and there's a lot of RVs in there, and you know that could just been that guy's first day with the router. Yeah.
But it didn't sit well with us.
No.
But they are the ones who had a lot of the white interior and nice interiors. And they used the Luan board on some of the roofs instead of the vinyl padding that you often find, which looked a little sleeker.
Yeah.
It was kind of nice inside.
Now the Lux, just to get back, you know, because she has a friend that was looking at a Lux. Oh. They were really nice. They had tons of nice features, lots of nice designs, and you could do a lot with them. So I think they're fine. Maybe you can schedule to figure out if your friend's going to order a new one, figure out when it's going to be built and go up there and tour it.
Right.
Find out when the walls are going to go on and
you can see.
Go watch them cut the walls.
Make sure that they don't have any of those mistakes in them.
Yeah, because the RV factory is one of those, you can go right up to them pretty much any time and just walk in and say, I want a tour.
Yeah, it's an on-demand tour.
Yeah, you don't have to go during tour hours. You don't have to schedule. Like Thor, the tours they had were all scheduled after work was over. So it was like we couldn't really see the workers working, which, you know, that's kind of what we wanted to see. Newmar, we saw the workers like right in the swing of things, and they seemed,
some of them were just they do it different ways.
Yeah,
and
and some you have to call ahead and tell them what you're interested in, and then all of a sudden you'll start getting emails from dealers trying to sell you stuff. Another thing that's really interesting about the factories, or another good benefit to them, is if you do need a warranty repair. Sometimes it's easier just to go to the factory and get it done. If it's a kind of a mid-level to a major repair, rather than dealing with the dealer and having them deal with the warranty department and just getting the runaround, you can go right up to these factories and schedule an appointment with them, and they'll do the warranty work there, and usually it gets done a lot quicker. They have all the parts in stock.
Well, Maurice is up at the Winnebago factory in Iowa doing just that.
Yep. Yeah,
we had some friends just doing just that.
Yeah, you might have just missed them. And when we were up there, we actually, I don't know if she's here, but Lisa Brown was in the group. When we pulled into the campground on Elkhart, she was right there in the campground, and they were up there for service and repairs as well. So it was kind of fun. We got to hang out and meet with her. So yeah,
and it is done right there at the factory. It can be a little easier, although out of your way sometimes too.
Right.
I mean, if you're not planning to go to northern Indiana or Iowa or Alabama.
Yeah. Or California for some of the brands.
Yeah. Be out of your way.
So all in all, interesting experience. We have been looking at RVs for a long time, so we kind of had an idea of what to expect, but I'm sure it can be a little shocking to someone who's, you know, used to household construction or used to car construction or bus construction. And then to see what's actually inside the walls of an RV is can be a little bit of a shock, but they all still work and they're fine. You just have to take care of them. They're a little bit more fragile than we want them to be.
Right.
But if you take care of them and you do your maintenance, they'll be all right.
But it's definitely worth going up if you're going to be in the area. If you're a full-timer and you're swinging through somewhere, you can stop in and go see how your RV is built. Mm-hmm. It's kind of an interesting thing to see and fun. Oh, and we mentioned a bunch of states, but Ohio too, if you're Airstreamer.
Yep. And if you're up in Indiana, you have to go to Rise and Roll and get really good donuts.
Yes.
Yeah. You're gonna
caramel, cinnamon caramel.
Yeah. Yeah, if you cross through northern Indiana, you're probably going to exceed the cargo carrying capacity of your RV by the time you finish eating all the butter and everything else. But I think it's worth it. All right, guys. Is there anywhere else where anybody might be asking questions?
I didn't see one over there, and I haven't seen here. There could be, but I haven't gotten any notifications, so I'm going to say no. Okay.
Well, we'll see you guys later. We'll see you out there on the road somewhere. And we will put this up as a replay for other people to see later.
Have fun, guys.
Bye.
See you later. Have a happy 4th of July.
We hope you enjoyed this replay of our Facebook Live show.
Join our Facebook community to participate in the live shows and learn how to live in an RV.
Go to rvtofreedomgroup.com to join the RV to Freedom Facebook group.
And to be notified about our next live videos and more, sign up with the link provided below in the video description.
We want to help you find your RV to freedom.